All right, everyone. Hello. My name is Hattie Prakash Boyd. I'm the owner and creator of Prakash Organic Skincare line. I've also been in the beauty industry for almost about 18 years now. I've been a licensed esthetician for around 15 or 16. And my specialty is skincare and skincare ingredients and how they interact with the skin. And I wanted to put together this class. A lot of this information, if you go through and watch all my individual lives or my YouTubes, a lot of the information might be repeat for you, but I did want to create a class that just had everything in it so that you could basically learn all the tips from a professional. Because what's happening, as many of you are aware online, is we're all seeing people, influencers doing a lot of beauty videos, like 25-year-old girls, 30-year-old girls, which is great, but not um, the stuff that a lot of 25 and 30-year-olds don't always work for 40 and 50-year-olds. And there's a lot of things that 40 and 50-year-olds do that 20 and 30-year-olds should not do. So I wanted to create a video that was done by a professional that had all the information kind of in one spot for you. And you could have more of a, be able to make more educated decisions as a buyer and things like that. So, and if you want to, I think your microphone is still on. So if you want to mute it so there's no background noise, you can. I mean, you're not making noise, so it doesn't matter, but it's totally your call.
It's on mute. I did have it on mute.
Oh, perfect. Fantastic. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about today is cleaning. Cleansers are one of my most favorite things to play with in the skincare world. Part of it is because your cleanser can make or break your routine. So if you don't have good cleansers in your lineup, they can throw off your entire skincare routine because they can affect your microbiome. The other thing is that they're one of the skincare products that you get a lot of product for a smaller amount of money. So I feel like, not everybody can treat themselves to a $100 serum or like a $75 eye cream, but it's easier for us to justify like a $30 to $40 cleanser sometimes. And then we know it's going to last us a long time. So the thing I tend to have people play with the most are their cleansers. Once you get locked into the routine of what you're trying to correct and improve in your skin, you kind of need to stick with those products because it's all about consistency and building up the therapeutic levels in your tissues. But the cleansers you can interchange in and out. So the first cleanser, if you don't have one already, needs to be an oil or cream cleanser. That should be the very first cleanser in your routine. The second one should be an exfoliating style cleanser. And then the third one should be like a gentle foaming cleanser. Gentle foaming cleansers and oil and cream cleansers are similar. They're both going to be gentle cleansers. One just foams, one does not. Sometimes you really want a gentle foaming cleanser, and sometimes you don't mind just oils. I know for me, after using oils and creams for a while, sometimes I do want a nice gentle foaming cleanser without the exfoliating properties to it. So if you have all three cleansers, when it comes to your exfoliating cleanser, that particular one can be more of a treatment style. So let's say you have like an oil cleanser and a exfoliating cleanser. The exfoliating cleanser you have needs to be more like a daily use cleanser because you're going to use it more often. For instance, in the cosmetics lineup, it would be the Purity Clean. That cleanser you can use up to daily and it's not going to dry you out. Whereas if you have more cleansers to choose from, the treatment cleanser I would put you in is actually RX Clean, which is twice as strong as Purity Clean. It has like 10% lactic acid in it versus 5%. But you can't use RX Clean every day. It'll definitely be too intense for you. So the more cleansers you have to choose from, the more treatment niche you can get with your exfoliating cleanser. The other one I recommend a lot is the Clarify. It's a great cleanser for daily use if you have really, really oily skin. But if you don't have really oily skin, it's going to fall more into like a treatment style cleanser for you. When you're using the treatment level exfoliating cleansers, those are going to be 3 to 4 times a week. Those that are gentler exfoliating cleansers, you can use those 5 times a week up to daily. And then your cream, your oils, your gentle foamings, you can use those as often as you want. One of the things I do recommend people do is when you go in to cleanse your face in the morning or at night, go with the cleanser that you feel called to use. There's no like you have to use this one and you have to use that one. You will notice though that The longer you go without using your exfoliating cleanser, you will start feeling a little bit of buildup on your skin. So those are the days where I'm like, no, I really, even though I may want to use this other amazing smelling cleanser, I'm gonna do the exfoliating one today because I'm starting to feel a little bit more congestion. Um, Also when it comes to cleansing, if I'm only a fan of doing 1 cleanse in the morning. I think 2 cleanses is overkill. You do wanna cleanse in the morning ideally because the body has spent a lot of time pushing all the toxins to the surface of the tissues. It's why in, Ayurveda, there's the thing called cold showers that when you wake up in the morning, you hop into a cold shower, all the blood in the center of the body rushes out to your limbs to heat up your body because the water's cold, and then by doing that, that blood pushes the toxins out into, out through the capillaries, the veins, and then pushes it outside through your skin. It's kind of the concept of it. So it's not kind of the concept of it, it is. So the same thing in the morning when you wake up and you just throw on your facial routine, there are toxins and things like that sitting on the face, that impurities that want to be rinsed off, removed. At nighttime, though, is the most crucial time to cleanse. If you only cleanse once a day, it needs to be PM. I am a fan of the double cleansing method at night if you've worn any makeup or sunscreen. If you've hung out at home, if you've just worn some face oil that day, if you've kept it pretty simple, a single cleanse is fine. But if you've put any type of, if you've used brushes on your face, if you've used any type of foundation, makeup, heavier sunscreen, then I highly recommend the double cleansing method. Pores are extremely hard to get clean. Um, I do like to start with a cream or oil cleanser because it's better at removing makeup and things like that. Also, oil attracts oil, and pollution is very sticky. So the oil cleansers and the cream cleansers really are king at removing the pollutions from the pores. And then the second cleanse is really to like drop into and clean out the pores. This is why sonic cleansing devices have become so popular over the years because they've done multiple studies now, and you can get pores 11 times cleaner than just using your hands alone by using a sonic device. I personally am a fan of the silicone ones. I don't like the Clarisonics. The brushes are just too much. Um, Also, they're absurdly a price because Microsoft, like Clarisonic, patented. The Sonic devices, you're gonna see a range from like $30 to $45 devices, and then it jumps all the way up to like 50, 150 to 150 to $300 devices. Here's the thing with the silicone cleansing devices for home use. There's absolutely no reason to spend money on a fancy one. We do not need medical grade silicone to cleanse our face. The difference between the cheap ones and the expensive ones is almost always just the fact that one is food grade silicone and one's medical grade silicone. Medical grade silicone is tested by the FDA to make sure it's safe to like be put into your body surgically. So that is why it's such a huge price point, because you're paying for that all the FDA paperwork. Food grade silicone is completely safe to use on your skin. We cook with it, we bake with it. It's not being implanted in your body. So save your money. If you already own one of the expensive devices, great. If you don't, do not waste your money on it. The thing I look for the most is that they just hold a great charge. Um, as long like the one that I have, I probably use it 3 or 4 times a week, and I charge it like twice a year at the most. You don't wanna get battery operated, you of course wanna get rechargeable, but just make sure it holds a good charge, but that's really the only thing you need to look for. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to toners and misters, astringents. So this category has really changed a lot over the years. When toners, so there's toners and misters and there's astringents. They're the same product, but they're two totally completely different things. Toners and misters were developed back in like the 70s because at the time cleansers were not formulated well. And when you cleansed your face, it threw off your pH. And so then you had to use a toning product basically to like reset your skin's pH before you moved on. So it was almost like the way we used to do chemical peel. Like we put the chemical peel on and then we had to neutralize it. Cleanser kind of worked. It like you cleansed your face and then you had to neutralize the cleanser in a way. And then you have astringents, and astringents are more, those are your liquid alpha hydroxy acid products. Okay. So when people talk about doing this new, what's it called? The new method where they cycle the cycle skincare method. That's what they're doing. Like when one night they're doing alpha hydroxy acids, and some people are doing it like in a serum form, and some people are doing it in like a liquid form. Astringents are your liquid form. They're always going to contain alpha hydroxy acids and or beta hydroxy acids. So in regards to the two, even though cleansers have changed a lot now, cleansers are pH balanced. They don't throw off your pH. Astringents can throw off your pH, but cleansers will not throw off your pH anymore. Now, how you want to use it, you absolutely still want to use a toner or a mister, but their purpose has changed. So now what we use them for is one, they will cause your products to go on more evenly. So if you go to put your serums on and your face is dry, usually when you touch, it's going to soak up the majority of the serum in that spot, and you're not going to be able to get fully spread around. You're not going to get even application. Misting the face first, your face is like a sponge. If it's slightly damp, it's going to absorb better than if it's dry. So mist or tone your face so your serums go on more evenly. Also, it's a time now to really infuse some nutrients into your skin. So toners are another category where I do not think you should spend money on them unless it's a nutrient dense toner. So use something inexpensive. I recommend hydrosols a lot. Hydrosols are basically a byproduct of the essential oil industry when they go make steam distilled essential oil of rose, when they go to make neroli, also known as orange blossom, when they go make sandalwood. They're steam distilling the essential oils, and this is the steam that then turns back to water at the bottom of the essential oil making apparatus. It's technically considered the wastewater, the byproduct, the junk that would normally be like considered trash and be thrown away. But then, of course, they realize this water is amazing. It's super antimicrobial because it has benefits from the essential oils in it. It's why you see it in skincare products all the time, solely by itself or on the shelf with no preservatives in it, because you don't need to add preservatives in it. So if you're a food company, you put it in a glass bottle and you sell it to, they use this constantly in the Middle East. They use it in India. They use it in Asia. Like, they use flavored waters everywhere. Rose and orange blossom are the most common. But if you're a skincare company, you put it in a fancy spray bottle and turn around and sell it for $45. It's the same thing. They've done nothing to it. They just have taken the vat of water and put it into a pretty spray bottle. So because we don't need toner to set our pH anymore, we just need it to help glide products more easily. I recommend that people get the inexpensive food waters, put them in your own spray bottle, and make your own toners. Or if you purchase them, they need to be nutrient dense. They can't just, I'm not paying $25 from some fancy spray for some fancy rose water, because it's not fancy. It's just like the other stuff. I'm not going to pay $35 for a toner that might have some essential oil in it and then maybe just niacinamide. Like, they need to be nutrient dense. I feel like they really need to justify the price. So the one that I'm a big fan of is Benefit Balance through Cosmetics. I used to be a huge fan of the Mystic. I don't like the new formulation anymore. So that one's kind of out for me for the price. The other thing that I would like to start seeing people doing, and I also am going to be creating a product like this, is you can just kind of make your own nutrient dense version. So get your hydrosol water, get distilled water, get your own filtered water through a Berkey or whatever that you have in your house, and then you can add things to it. So I prefer to work with the hydrosol waters because they're already antimicrobial and you don't have to worry about things growing in them. But you can get shelf stable prebiotics, and the ones that are in the fridge, the ones that are on the shelf, you open up a capsule, dump it into the water, shake it up, okay? You can do the same thing with trehalose. Trehalose is a really inexpensive ingredient. It's basically a sugar used in food preservation, particularly in foods that are frozen. They have found out that it's amazing in skincare. As many of you know who follow me, trehalose is one of my most favorite ingredients to work with and my favorite ingredients in skincare. Buy some, sprinkle a little in. You don't need a ton. It holds up to 1,000 times its weight in water. It's like hyaluronic acid. If you go to like spray and it doesn't mist out well, if it mist out chunky, yeah, put too much water in. But there's no reason why you can't buy shelf stable powdered actives that are water soluble and not sprinkle them into some hydrosol waters or some distilled waters and make your own toners and misters. They're not hard to make. Play around with them, because you may make a formula one time and like a month later you're like, oh, it seems like there's maybe something growing in this container. Yeah, don't use that one again. Or use it, and if you use distilled water and you realize that didn't work, Use hydrosol water or add some essential oils into it because essential oils are antimicrobial and they also are a natural preservative. Same with the trehalose, sugar, preservatives. So just do a little bit of research. I'm happy to answer any questions, but start making your own. There's no reason to buy a $50 toner if it's not nutrient dense. When it comes to the astringents, that's what you want to look for. Alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids. These products are going to be excellent for anybody who's oily or more acneic. If you deal with congestion issues like around the nose and the sides of the chin, I recommend using a product like this 3 to 4 times a week in the evening. You don't need to use it every night. You don't need to use an astringent like you do a toner. You can treat it more. I tend to treat astringents more like your treatment exfoliating cleanser if you don't tend to be like an oily person or a super congested person. The other thing is that if you strip your skin with an astringent, so astringent can cause more of a stripping effect. You know, it's got those cooling effects. I'm sure it's like the sea breeze, right? Anytime you use like an enzymatic mask, a detox mask, a clay mask, if you strip the skin with this astringent product first and then put those face masks on, you're going to get a better benefit from them. The alpha hydroxy acids and beta hydroxy acids cannot penetrate if there's oil on the skin or the skin is not at a lower pH. Think acids, lactic acid. There's vitamin C is L-ascorbic acid, salicylic acid. So if the skin is a lower pH, it's easier for it to be received, and that's why stripping it with an astringent first is going to cause those products to work better. Okay, so let's move on to serums. So serums is where your money needs to go. If you don't have the funds to have the skincare routine that you would like, or you need to be more conscious of your skincare purchases, or you're one of those people that don't want a lot of steps, you want to be simple and keep it basic, put your money into your serums. Buy inexpensive cleansers and more inexpensive moisturizers or hydrators, but put your money into the serums. The serums is the things that are going to change your skin on a cellular level. The molecular structures of serums are smaller, so they're able to go into the tissues more and start making changes. There are particular ingredients that you do need to use that, okay, so when it comes to serums, you have your actives that work because there's receptor sites in your skin. That's what corrective skincare is they have taken ingredients that they know make cellular changes in your tissues, and they know that they're going to fit into receptor sites. So that is the ingredients they choose to work with. Those are called correctives. It's also known as chiral. They tend to put more of those ingredients in your serums because your skin can't really absorb too much when you're cleansing. And hydration is more about sealing things in and keeping you hydrated. You are now starting to see moisturizers with a lot more actives in them, but here's the thing. They do that solely because they want to charge more money for them, but you're not getting the same benefit. They're usually not at the same therapeutic levels as they are within a serum. And then also, you got to remember, skincare companies can make lots of claims without anything actually being verified. So they can claim that there's 5% of vitamin C in their moisturizer, but if it's in a delivery system, like vitamin C is not going to absorb into your skin unless it's a pH of 3.5 to 4. So if the moisturizer is a pH of 6.5 and they put 5% vitamin C in it, you ain't absorbing wackadoodle of that 5% vitamin C. pH is huge. It's really hard to control pHs on moisturizers. So the only actives that you should see in hydrators that are going to make benefits for you and that you're actually going to get what you're paying for are actives like trehalose, sodium hyaluronate, not hyaluronic acid, but sodium hyaluronate is the skincare version of hyaluronic acid that your skin can absorb. You want to look for more your emollients, your lipids. Things like niacinamide shouldn't be in your moisturizer. Things like growth factors shouldn't be in your moisturizer. Vitamin C, retinols shouldn't be in your moisturizer. Okay, they need to be in your serums. So there's a whole plethora of serums, okay? So we've got your hydrating serums. Your hydrating serums are going to be the ones that have the sodium hyaluronate, the trehalose, glycerins, aloe vera. Prickly pear, unrefined prickly pear is another very hydrating. I called an active. Prickly pear functions as bioavailable hyaluronic acid in your system. So your body recognizes it as its own and is able to utilize it. So like the unrefined prickly pear in my heavier oil is more bioavailable than some of the hyaluronic acid serums found on the market, because the version I work with is bioavailable and not all ingredients are bioavailable for your skin. Then you have your lightening and brightening ser so the hydrating serums, those are gonna be what you use to get more hydration into your tissues without having to use oils, butters, creams. Lighteners, and when they bring hydration into the tissues, they're bringing water hydration, they're not bringing lipid hydration. Then you have your lightening and brightening serums. Lightening and brightening serums preserve your complexion, they prevent pigment from forming, and then they also fade pigment that's already there. So for me, when it comes to lighteners and brighteners, you do want to pay attention to AM and PM use. If it's a lightener and brightener that is AM and PM use, that is going to be one that targets preventing pigment, which is also known as tyrosinase inhibitors. If it's a nighttime only product, that either means that there's other actives in it that are going to make you sun sensitive, or there are no tyrosinase inhibitors in it. It's only going to fade pigmentation that has already been created. And those work best by using it at night. Tyrosinase inhibitors, daytime, stop the pigment from forming. Ingredients that fade pigment that's already there need to be used in the evening, because the evening is when you are getting your beauty rest. During the daytime, your skin is spending all of its time protecting itself from the environment and the sun. The sun is a death laser. The skin is terrified of it. It turns us to leather. And then pollution is the next after. So all day long, it's fighting off free radical damage. It is protecting itself. The best thing to put on your skin in the AM: antioxidants, 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 antioxidants. And then lighteners and brighteners if you want to prevent pigment from the death laser. At nighttime is when you want to use your anti-aging, more of your anti-aging skincare ingredients, because that is when your skin is renewing and regenerating, and it can actually use those actives to knit the skin together and create new skin. If it's protecting itself, it doesn't know what the heck to do with this growth factor right now, because it's literally like in battle. It's in battle. You don't hand someone chapstick when they're fighting off swords, okay? At night, it's you when you're regenerating and you're renewing. Um, so back to the lighteners and brighteners. The bonus with lighteners and brighteners, and especially a lot of tyrosinase inhibitors, is they are antioxidants in themselves. They're kind of like duo ingredients. They have found that these antioxidants also lighten and brighten the skin. So like um niacinamide, is niacinamide considered an antioxidant? Because it is a tyrosinase inhibitor. Gallic acid, it's a tyrosinase inhibitor. It's also an antioxidant. Gluconolactone, it's a major antioxidant. It also is a lightener and brightener. So I look for lighteners and brighteners that have a lot of actives in them, like at least 10. When you're working on pigment, you have to hit it at all these different places. There's multiple things that contribute to, there's the production of the melanocytes that are being made. There's the melanocytes actually being turned on and making melanin. There's the what's the word I'm looking for? The where it stops them from making the melanin, the synthesis of melanin. So there's so many different things that contribute to pigment. So when you're looking for lighteners and brighteners, you want ones that hit all the areas. If you have a lightener and brightener that only has 3 or 4 actives in it, no bueno. The reason I say that is it's going to cost the same amount as one of the other ones. It's not about, when it comes to lighteners and brighteners, you're paying for the category. You're not always paying for the ingredients. Okay. So one that has 3 lighteners and brighteners can literally be $150. And one that has 10 lighteners and brighteners can be like $70. This one's actually better because it's got more actives hitting at it. Also, those formulations that have a lot of actives have a ton of antioxidants. So back to what I'm trying to get to. For some people, your lightener and brightener, not so much in the summer. In the summer, I totally load up on antioxidants, but from fall through spring, if you have a really good lightener and brightener like Revert or Simply Brilliant, if you don't want to use an additional antioxidant serum on top of it, you don't have to. I'm really struggling with how expensive antioxidant serums have gotten over the years. They used to be more around like the $50 to $70 range, and now they're all between like 70, or honestly, it's like 85 and $150 range. Um, So now with lighteners and brighteners being more in the marketplace, they weren't around like they are now. 15 years ago, we didn't really have them. 20 years ago, they were super new. Now that they've done more research, they're finding out about more of the actives are also antioxidants. I feel very confident and comfortable telling you if you just want to use Revert and like a vitamin C product, like my Brilliant Sandy in the morning, and not use the antioxidant serum and put your money away for fall through spring, do it. You're already going to end up with, after you've put your toners on, which if they're nutrient dense, those are going to have antioxidants in it. After you've put the lighteners and brighteners on, a vitamin C product, your hydrators, even whether it's a moisturizer or my face oils or whatever it is, those are going to either have natural antioxidants or antioxidants added. I feel like you're good. Um, when you're starting out in skincare between 20 and 30, the number one serum you should be using in the morning, if not a lightener and brightener, is an antioxidant serum. But as you graduate to more corrective things, those correctives are going to start replacing some of your other serums that you're having to use before. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Hopefully I didn't beat that dead horse. The next type of serums that we are going to have is your retinoids. And retinoids are going to be retinol palmitate, retinol aldehyde, which also can be seen on ingredient list as retinal. So you have your retinol, TOL. That's the most common over-the-counter run, retinol, TOL. And then you have retinol aldehyde, which can be retinal, RETNAL. So if you see the AL, it's this retinol aldehyde, which is a very unstable but beautiful retinoid, and it's superior to retinol. And then you've also got your tetranoin and your retinoic acid, which tetranoin is just the pharmaceutical word for your retinoic acid, the final stage of what the body converts it into. And retinoic acid, that's also known as an endpoint molecule. That's the bioavailable version. Okay. So if you put retinol palmitate on your skin, it has to convert to retinol, and then it has to convert into retinal or retinol aldehyde, and then it goes to retinoic acid. If I'm using retinol, it has to convert to retinol aldehyde, and then it has to convert into retinoic acid. So it can't skip. It actually has to go through every transition, and then every time it converts, you lose a small percentage. So that's why a 0.5 retinol is not nearly as strong as a 0.05 retinoic acid, because by the time it converts, it's probably more like a 0.025. Okay, so you lose it. The thing with retinoids is they force your skin to function younger. So this is why you don't need one when you're 20, 22, 23, 24. Unless you have acne, you should not be using retinoids on your skin. You can't force your skin to act any younger than it's physically possible to act, okay? But when you hit age 30, your cellular turnover process slows down. So you know how they tell you you grow a new face every 28 days? Well, once you hit 30, it's more like 28 to 32. Once you hit 40, it's more like 38 to 43. Like as you get older, that cellular turnover process slows down. Retinoids force that to speed back up to the ages to the 28 days back to when you were 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. Okay. So that's why they're important to have in your routine. There's a new category of stuff coming out. I know you guys have heard of it, called the bakuchiol complex. You're seeing in a lot of face oils. The reason you see it in oils is because it's lipid soluble. Which is one of the reasons why it's gentler in the tissues, because it's not a pH thing. It's a lipid, so it goes right in. You don't have to get the perfect pH for the skin to absorb it. It is not a retinoid, but it's super confusing to science. It's not a retinoid. It's not considered a retinoid, but it actually, because it doesn't make you sun sensitive. You can use it when you're pregnant. Like, it doesn't have the retinoid side effects that make people nervous, okay? But it fits into the receptor sites, and it functions exactly the same as a retinol. So if you have a 0.5 bakuchiol complex in a product, it's going to function the same as like Refined by Cosmetics is the same as their bakuchiol complete. They're actually the same functioning in the tissues, of the same percentage. They only should be used in the evening, again, except for the bakuchiol, you can use it in the AM. It's also considered an antioxidant, so if you're using something with bakuchiol in the AM, you can count that towards your antioxidant load as an antioxidant serum. You also want to work into them slowly and build up over time. When you start using a retinoid, usually in the beginning, you're like, "My skin looks amazing, it looks fantastic," and then after a couple months, you're like, "Eh, it's mellowed. It's just like it was. I just don't really see any. I just don't think it's doing anything anymore." Well, it kind of isn't. You need to bump up your strength. You need to go up. If you're plateaued with your retinoid, it's time to bump up your strength. When you go to bump up, there's a progression thing that you can do. Feel free to message me. Because how are we on time? Yeah, I'm already 40 minutes in. So there's a progression thing that you can do with retinoids. You can alternate them every other night with the lower strength that you're already using, or just skip a night and do it another night. But work into them slowly until you can get to the full strength, be on your full strength for a couple months, usually at least 6 weeks, and then look at going to the next level. When you work with retinoids, you should have like two, three, four different strengths in your cupboard, not right when you begin in your 30s, but like once you hit your 40s, you should have a couple different strengths. So you have them as you can build up and build down. And then you also want to take a break up from them in the summer because you build up a resistance anyway. You cannot use retinoids year round. They'll quit acting the way you want them to in the skin. You'll max out. It's important to give them a break. It makes most sense to give them a break in the summertime when it makes you sun sensitive. Some people will disagree with me on this, but now with me being in it long enough and seeing it long enough, I 100% know what I'm talking about. It's not gonna give you pigment possibly that summer, but 10 years from now, there's spots on your faces that got way more exposed to sun than they should have been because you were using retinoid all summer. So now you have pigment issues when you're 40 and 50. You're not gonna get the pigment issues in your 20. The other thing you'll see is the areas where you broke out and then you get that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If you're using retinoids to help lighten those in the summer and then you're going out into the sun, those are spots 10, 15 years from now are going to show up back on your skin as like an age spot, but it was really a blemish that you had 20 years ago, that you over retinoid and then went into the sun. So if you're going to work with retinoids, work with a professional for about a year till you've mastered kind of how to use them, and then you can run on your own. But there's a reason why the majority of retinoids have not been available over the counter. More skincare companies are getting into them, but you also want to be careful with that because when it comes to the over the counter stuff, they will make claims on using the higher strengths because they are, but they're intentionally putting it in formulations where the pHs are a little bit off because skincare companies don't want reactions. They don't want to deal with it. This is why MLM skincare is not good, and this is why famous people skincare is not good. They don't want to deal with any controversy of there being any type of reaction. So they may be using the pretty words and the therapeutic doses and percentages on their packaging, but they're also intentionally formulating it at a pH that's going to buffer this a bit. So you're not going to really get the therapeutic load that you think that you're getting. Okay, it's so impossible for me not to jump around. So, oh, and in regards to the other types of retinoids, you also have your adaptoline and your tazarotene. These are synthetic. How these ones work is there's tons of different retinoid receptor sites, and some are way more reactionary than others. So what they've done with the synthetic ones, if they've taken out the ones that they feel create the most irritation, so the side effects aren't as bad. But then there's also a lot of science to show that it's hitting all those retinoid receptor sites that really helps with collagen production. So if you're trying to clear up acne, that's why like adaptoline is a really popular one for acne. You're not trying to stimulate collagen as much, you're just trying to heal the acne. But if you're doing it for anti-aging, for fine lines and wrinkles, try to stay away from the synthetic ones. You need the real shit. Okay. I'm also not a fan of the pharmaceutical ones. Retinoids are a whole episode of themselves. Because there's not a single one that doesn't have parabens in it. So I do avoid endocrine disruptors. It's why I don't work with, won't ever recommend products to you that have fragrance in them or parabens in them because there's enough research to show that they do cause, they're endocrine disruptors, basically meaning they mimic estrogen in your body, and then that comes along with a whole plethora of estrogen-caused cancers. All the pharmaceutical ones, because the pharmaceutical industry don't give a crap, and you got to remember everything has to be approved by the FDA. So they created this tetraenoin back in like I don't know the 50s or the 60s, with parabens, and it's not one paraben, it's like 3 to 5 parabens in the formulations. They got that approved by the FDA, so now they're not gonna touch it. They're not gonna reformulate it because then they're gonna have to pay to have it relooked at, okay? So just know with the pharmaceutical ones, you are getting parabens. If you're not worried about it, don't worry about it. If you're worried about it, stay the heck away from that stuff. Um, the next one, the category is going to be your alpha hydroxys and your PHAs, your polyhydroxy acids, and your beta hydroxy acids. So alpha hydroxy acids are tinier, they're a smaller molecule, and they drop down into the tissues. They don't always have receptor sites. So like glycolic acid does not have a receptor site. It works because it's so tiny. It can drop down into the dermis, but then it just floats around and creates irritation. It's why if you have a product that has glycolic acid in it and you're using it more on a daily basis, it can create a lot of irritation, like around the nose, the corners of things, because there's no receptor site for it. It works because it's tiny and it floats around and creates irritation. It has a skin peeling mechanism because you get flaking from it, but that's why there's no receptor site. It's why you work with L-ascorbic acid and not just ascorbic acid. There's two sides of the vitamin C molecule. One is the one that fits into your receptor site and happy. Then there's the other side, which is the right side, the D side. It just creates irritation and floats around. There's nothing for it to fit into. So it sits on the top of the surface of the skin, and this is why vitamin C products can be irritating. So they figured out a while ago in skincare, we need to work with the chiral version. Well, glycolic acid doesn't have a chiral version. It's a chemical made by DuPont. Yes, it originally is from sugarcane, certain strains of sugarcane, but no one uses that version because DuPont patented it and it's super, super cheap. It's why you see glycolic acid in almost all alpha hydroxy acid products because it's so cheap, it's almost free. Anywho, so they can't make a chiral version of it, so it's irritating. Lactic acid, same thing. What they're doing is the D side of the lactic acid, there's no receptor site in your skin. It creates irritation. So they've purified the ingredient, is kind of how they call it, or make it chiral. They remove the D side and only keep the L side. And the L side is what fits into your receptor site and makes changes in the skin. So with your alpha hydroxy acids, you have you got your glycol, your lactic, your pyruvic, your azelaic, your malic, your mandelic, your tartaric. There's lots of alpha hydroxy acids. Beta hydro, and they sit on the surface of the skin and drop in a little bit and create some exfoliation. Beta hydroxy acids, however, only one, salicylic acid, it drops down into pores and pushes gunk out. So that's why if you deal with congestion, if you deal with blackheads, beta hydroxy acid, salicylic acid is your best friend. Alpha hydroxy acids are not going to clean out your pores. They're actually going to shrink them down and cause them to be harder to extract. Salicylic acid is what cleans the pores out. And now you have this new category, polyhydroxy acids. So polyhydroxy acids, poly, the molecule is big. There's many of them. They can't drop down at all. They straight up just sit on the surface of the skin and digest things like enzymes do, basically. The thing with polyhydroxy acids that's nice about them is they don't drop in, so you don't feel a tingle with them. So for some people, they think, oh, this is not working, it's not tingling. Polyhydroxy acids aren't going to make you tingle. They're not going in. They're sitting on the surface and doing their thing. They're breaking up the glue. They're breaking up the glue that holds the dead skin cells together. So that is why the skin cycling has become so popular, is it's caused people to start bringing in multiple actives that they are routinely using, and the retinoids force your skin to turn over faster, and the alpha hydroxy acids and the polyhydroxy acids break up, and the betas break up the glue that holds the dead skin cells together. So that is why, if you're wanting to be like a diehard prep person for chemical peels, like to make your skin the most primo presto for chemical peels, you use retinoids and lighteners and brighteners in the PM a good 2 weeks, if not a month before. And then and that's in the PM. And in the AM, you're using the lighteners and brighteners, but you're also using alpha hydroxy acid products, because then you're hitting this, the cells are being pushed up, and then you got a product on the top digesting what's coming up faster. The two work beautifully together, and that's how you get the most primo outcome for your chemical peel in the prepping process. And you can, these products you typically are in serums, but you see them more and more now in astringents in the liquid form. And I like them both. It just depends on what I'm doing. I like them both. Then you have your acne serums, which again is also going to be your salicylic acids, your benzoyl peroxide. It will have retinoids in it. It'll have niacinamide in it. I do tend, for some people who have acne, um, I may not even have you on a retinoid at all. I may just have you on an acne product, and it's because the acne product is taking account for the retinoids and then also these other ingredients. Um, then you have your microbiome serums. I'm not a fan of buying microbiome serums. I like seeing same with niacinamide. So when it comes to niacinamide and microbiome ingredients, I like to see them as supportive ingredients and formulations. Like I'm getting a gentle cleanser and it also supports my microbiome. I'm using this hydrating serum and it also supports my microbiome. Um, I don't think you should buy a product that's just for the microbiome. Like cosmetics has a moisturizer that also helps with the microbiome. So I feel like if it's already doing one thing and they put it in there as a backup, that's how you should use niacinamide. That's how you should use microbiome products. I don't like to see standalone. The only time I like to see standalone for niacinamide like that is the higher percentages of niacinamide is going to help dissolve oil more. So for most people, when it comes to actives, you should be looking for around 5% of niacinamide on your skin on a daily basis. You don't really need any more than that. That's the healthy amount to maintain beautiful skin. Once you get up into like the 10s and then definitely like the 20s, like Paula's Choice makes a toner that's a 20% niacinamide toner. Those are for people that have like really congested pores and really need something in there besides salicylic acid to go in and get the shit out. It's going to dissolve those oil plugs more. Um, when it comes to benzoyl peroxide, I am not a fan of the ingredient. Benzoyl peroxide destroys, I'm using very specific words, it destroys your collagen. So once you hit 23, your collagen production starts to go down. You start making 1% less each year for your live, 1 to 2% less than what you did before. And it can't make up for it. So it's fine to use the benzoyl peroxide when you're 16 to clear up your acne if that's what you want to do, because whatever you're destroying, the body's like, I got you, bitch. I'm making a lot of benzoyl peroxide. I'm going to get you back up to your levels. We're good. But once you hit 23, it's never going to get you back up to your levels. And so you need to stay away from benzoyl peroxide if you're over 23. Okay. So I'm heavy on the niacinamide and salicylic acid for cleaning up acne. And then last but not least, the last category of serums is going to be your growth factors. And that's going to be your plant stem cells, your lab derived, and your human. So real quick, when it comes to growth factors, humans work the best. They take the liquid that they grow skin in for skin graft transplant. So basically almost all some come from adipose tissue, some are coming from placentas. The majority of human growth factors are coming from a baby foreskin back in the 1970s. What they did is they took the foreskin and they started growing skin with it to create skin grafts for burn victims and things like that. What is in the serum? So there's no DNA, there's no body parts, there's no cells in the serum like in what you're thinking. What they do is the liquid, the growth medium, that's what they call it, the growth median that they grow the skin in. When skin grows, it releases these growth factors because releasing growth factors is a bell to call in more growth factors to help regenerate and renew new cells. So as the skin grows, it releases these growth factors, okay? And then that goes into the liquid. And then they take that liquid, and depending on the company, like TNS from Skinmatica, they just take that whole liquid, they don't clean it, and they put it in serum. A lot of people don't know that when cells replicate, they poop. Cells poop, like they replicate and they poop. Skinmatica doesn't clean. This is why I'm such a huge fan of the AQ Active Serum, because if you're a decent skincare company, you then take that liquid and you extract the growth factors from it, take those growth factors, and then put it in another product. So that's how the human ones are made. So it's not actual cells or tissue from another human. It's these growth factors. And because they're human, they know how to communicate with your own body. Then you have lab-derived ones that are created in a lab and are only developed under GMO because that's the only way they know how to make them so far. The ones from barley work the best. Those ones have shown to work almost just as good, if not as good as human growth factors. The only company I'm aware of that uses the barley ones are Zeo, but he's also the only company that's transparent about it being the barley ones because he acknowledges the copyright of the company that he's using. Um, so for lab derived, they work like middle of the road to just as good as human. And then you have plant. So the thing with the plant stem cells, they're not plant growth factors. I know companies use that term for marketing, but they are not growth factors. They are stem cells. And what happens is when you put certain ones on your body, so Eldawise is one of them. Cosmetics works with that one. That's what's in there. Illuminate and Lift. Zeo works with it. That's the one that's in their lifting gel. Then there's also the orchid stem cell one. That one Cosmetics also works with. There's like, and I think there's like 3 or 4 plant-based stem cells that when you apply them, the body is then told to make it more of its own growth factors. And that is how they work. So it doesn't supplement them. So taking a lab derived in human is like taking the supplement. I'm going to go buy my vitamin C. I'm going to go buy my vitamin A. Whereas the plant stem cells are it's like taking nutritional supplements to make your own GABA, or taking nutritional supplements to then make your own dopamine, like Munis canis. Like you take the dopamine bean, and then your body makes its own dopamine rather than like supplementing with one of the dopamine pharmaceuticals. Okay, so that's how the plant stem cells work. They're also always an antioxidant, and they don't work as well. Some of them have amazing benefits, and there's great studies, but again, human is king, and then lab derived. The ones that have been shown that are plant based are close to lab derived, slightly different. And then just so you know, when they say plant stem cells, it doesn't also always mean it contributes to growth factor production. So don't like I've seen argan oil stem cells, that's just an antioxidant. It's not going to stimulate growth factors at all. So when you get into the plant derived growth factors, they can get really manipulative and with their marketing. So you do just want to look an ingredient up. The way I've learned almost all my ingredient knowledge is I take the word and I Google it and I look for research papers. That's how a lot of my knowledge came from. Okay, and then the last but not least, the other antioxidant is going to be your serum is going to be antioxidants. So vitamin C, E, A, ECGC, which is what is in green tea that makes green tea so amazing. It's also what's in coffee. It's actually twice as strong in coffee, which is why it's in my eye care because it's so amazing. Spin trap is another one, sodium oxide, dismutase, gluconolactone. These are all antioxidants. Okay, so when it comes to eye products, the things you want to look for in eye products, the biggest thing I find, eye products I feel are kind of one of the bigger scams in skincare because you get the least amount for the most amount of money. And yes, the eye area does age 36% faster than the rest of the face. And a lot of times you may need help with dark circles or depuffing around the eyes, but you don't need it on the entire face. Like I understand, and the eye tissue is different. Like as you get older, it's way easier to get milia around your eyes than it is the rest of your face. So I understand why we have eye products. The cost of them is irritating as hell. Because it's not like they're putting any more amazing actives than they are in like serums. And there's way more in serum. Like eye creams bother me. Anywho, so when it comes to eye products, the biggest thing you want to look for is caffeic acid. That is why it's the number one ingredient in my eye care oil. Caffeic acid not only is depuffing, but the other thing, it's what it does to fine lines and wrinkles is insane. The studies that they have seen that have helped caffeic acid, caffeic acid, caffeic acid, caffeic acid. It's an important ingredient. It's the number one active in the new cosmetics eye complex as well. It's got like 2% caffeic acid in it. It's amazing and depuffing to the tissues. Also, just know that as you get older, the milia can get worse around your eyes, especially look at your grandmas. The milia around the eyes can be genetic. Sorry. I didn't grab any water. Milia can be genetic, so you can have an eye product that you've used for years, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it starts giving you milia. It happens. It's why I created my eye oil as well. I couldn't use the eye products I was anymore. I used eye Opti Crystal for 10 years. Loved the heck out of it. It was the most amazing eye product I've ever used. It's one of the reasons why I don't really have like, if I smile, but like I don't have crow's feet. Like at rest, you don't hardly really see anything on me. Started giving me milia. I can't use it every day now. The eye gel, the eye complex I can in the gel form, but I tried multiple different eye products that all gave me milia. So just know, keep an eye out for that. But look for caffeic acid is the biggest thing. When it comes to dark circles, if you have the kind that are underneath the tissue, it's going to be more of a lymph drainage issue. Basically, lymph gets trapped down in this area, it becomes stagnant. So the best you can do is honestly just like a gentle lymphatic massage using ECDC, the green tea or green coffee antioxidant, the cucumbers. It doesn't work why you think it. Just anything that brings cooling to the area. Um, Stagnation, move. If you have pigment that is in the tissues, it's melanation and not from lymph. Um, Lighteners and brighteners will help. So what you want to do is like when you do your skincare routine, you always avoid this area when you're putting your lighteners and brighteners on because they're more active. But at the end, lightly tap, like simply, this is one of the things I love about Simply Brilliant so much, is it is amazing at lightening the melanated pigmentation around the eyes. I do find it works much better with a serum, not a lotiony base. So when it comes to applying serums, how you want to do it is the aqueous ones tend to go on first, the liquid aqueous water-based ones. Then you want to put more on like the lipid base. If it's a serum that is made from oils, lipids, oils go next. And then the caprylic acid ones, the ones that look like thin lotions, like they're a serum, but they're a lotion, those should go on last. And I find the ones that are aqueous base work the best for helping lightening the eye area because they drop in so quickly. So you can put them in thin and they go in. Whereas the lotiony ones, you have to be more careful. They take longer to drop in, so they can tend to drip into the eyes a little bit, be more irritating. Like I wouldn't really do it with Revert, but Simply Brilliant, I would do it all day long. Then when it comes to your hydrators, you've got oils, moisturizers, creams, balms, gels. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of the oils. My skin got better once I stopped using moisturizers. When you have moisturizers and creams, the things that make some moisturizers and creams are binders. They're basically just taking water and oil and forcing them to stay together. So when you do that, they have to use binders, they have to use fillers, they have to create bulk. They usually use very inert ingredients and then they add back the actives. That's why I'm a way bigger fan of oils, particularly unrefined. They press the oil and you just have pure nutrient dense rich oil. It's why they tend to go bad more quickly because it's like food. Like I use food grade oils in my skin and body oils. Whereas with a moisturizer, they usually take inert ingredients. They're taking refined oils, which have everything pulled out basically but the lipids. They're taking silicones, they're taking petroleum, they're taking petroleum byproducts. They're taking acrylates, they're taking all these things and forcing them together, mixed together, and then they're adding in the active. So if you want an antioxidant, every single one they have to add it. Sometimes my heavier face oil, depending on the press and where they, what batch they were, they're going to have anywhere between like 86 and 100 antioxidants. So that's why I tend to lean more towards oils as hydrators, balms as hydrators, because they're not having to really add in the actives, whereas moisturizers and creams and gels, they're taking an inert base and having to add in all the nutrients. Then you have your treatment categories. So you've got your exfoliators, there's your physicals, and your physicals are also known as mechanical. They're the scrubbies. And then you have your chemical, which are going to be your alpha hydroxy acids, your beta hydroxy acids, your polyhydroxy acids, because part of the nature of them is they exfoliate. And then you have your enzymatic. And your enzymatic are going to be your enzymes that like digest everything like Pac-Man. So when I said, like I talked about earlier, anytime you go before you do a peel or one of the enzymatic or like the chemical ones, if you strip your face with an astringent first, all those versions are gonna work better. Whereas if I'm gonna use a physical or mechanical exfoliant where I'm gonna scrub, I don't wanna use any alpha hydroxy acids on my skin first. I wanna cleanse. You can use up to like an exfoliating cleanser, but then you wanna go in and do your scrub. You don't wanna strip it first because the oil that is still on your skin after cleansing is gonna be like your microbiome, your acid mantle, is gonna be a little bit of a buffer for those scrubbies. Um, that's how you wanna apply those 2, and then you have your masks. So when it comes to detox masks, which are gonna be charcoal based, and your hydrating masks and clay masks, you wanna leave those on for, a good 20 minutes, okay? They don't really do their job if you don't leave them on for at least 20 minutes. Like those types of masks, even when you go into spas, I always find it a huge injustice when they take the face mask off after 10 minutes. So when it comes to the enzymatic ones, the acid ones, those are 10. After 10 minutes, they're shut off. They're not doing anything. You can leave them on. Like they're not going to do anything. If you want to walk around the house all day with your pure enzyme on, go for it. But after 10 minutes, they're done. But when it comes to the detox, the hydrating, the clay, those ones are at least 20 minutes. And then also when it comes to clay masks, um, they need when they dry, they should not be tightening down. You should be able to be flexible. If your clay mask dries down and it hurts to move, throw that clay mask away. It actually is creating damage. They're not good for you. They create cell damage. You want a clay mask that dries and you can still move your face. Clay masks are going to be more for drying up oils, and clearing up the skin, especially like the sulfur-based ones, clearing up acne, whereas the detox masks are gonna be more about pulling impurities out of the tissues. One of the things with masking is you should only do face masks about once to twice a week. Like, I wouldn't do a clay mask more than once a week. I wouldn't do a hydrating mask. Well, hydrating mask and detox masks, this is how they work. So detox masks you can either do once a week, or if you're going through a purging and you want to clean things out, you can do detox masks 3 to 4 times a week, up for 2 weeks as you're going through this skin detox process. But other than that, once a week. Hydrating masks you honestly can do as much as you want. If you start breaking out a little bit, back off. But hydrating are pretty much, you can't really overdo them. One of the things I like to do with hydrating masks is I like to put them on and then wait 10 minutes and then put another layer on and wait 10 minutes and then remove them. And then the clay masks, wait till they're fully dry. And then I always remove them with a steam towel because they're harder to remove. Um, that's all. I'm right at the hour mark, and I want to open up any questions, Veronica, that you might have. What other thing I was going to add was doing microneedling peels, layers, lasers, plasma, home devices. I'm a huge fan of microneedling. It thickens up your dermis. Lasers are great too, but they thin your dermis over time. So I do feel that microneedling is superior. I feel kind of the progression of what people should do in their skin journey with trying to preserve as much youth as they can is they should start first with chemical peels, then move on to microneedling, and then move on to lasers. Unless they have a lot of pigment and they just want to hit it with the IPL and start working on it. But I feel peels, microneedling, then lasers is the kind of the best route to go. When it comes to home devices, I think they're kind of a gimmick. They're so high maintenance and you have to do them so much and they're weak. Just go pay for the professional level services. Okay, what do you got, Veronica?
No, I do the micro needling. I think one of the biggest things that, so like I'm in my 50s and I know you were talking about toners and misters. And I know you've worked with me for the last couple of years because I had hyperpigmentation, which has gotten tremendously better. So, and I think the retinol is my biggest question
Okay.
because I do want to do a peel this in probably, so in prepping my face for a pill.
So you're in California. What are the temps right now?
Oh, well, we're back to cold. Yeah, the
Okay.
heat's gone. The sun damage is gone.
And do you have Defy or do you have Defy from your summer routine or Did you not
I'd
use?
have to, yeah, I did have Defy. I'll have to look to see if I have more.
Okay. So ideally, I would make sure you're using your lighteners and brighteners already, which I'm assuming you already are. And then we'll get you on the retinoids. And then 2 weeks, 2 weeks before we apply the peel, I would add Defy to your daytime routine.
Okay.
Start using
And
it.
I think there was something else we said in replace of Defy.
Bakuchiol Complete.
Okay.
But
It
with the
was,
Bakuchiol, it works more like a retinoid. So it doesn't, excuse me. It works more like a retinoid. So it's like the whole reason I want you on the Defy is because the alpha hydroxy acids. I want to break up the glue on the surface.
okay.
The Bakuchiol is going to work more on the back end like a retinoid.
Okay.
So I would like you could use it at night to prep for the peel, but Defy I definitely want during the day. Like, and you don't have to, like, this is just like the die hard method of not messing around. This is how I'm gonna prep for my peel. Two
Okay.
days before add Defy.
So Defy would be in the AM or PM? Because,
AM.
okay.
That's why you can
Because I,
only do it in the fall, winter. Like this is not I don't like to do peels in the summer anyway, but back even when I did do peels in the summer, people did not get told about the Defy method.
okay. Because I thought I was using the Defy back in when I was using it in the winter was in PM.
You
So,
were. So typically it's a PM product.
okay.
It's a sun sensitive, like it's a PM product. It's an exfoliator. But because we're getting ready to peel, I don't want to put retinoids and alpha hydroxy acids on your skin at the same time at night. It's not a good idea. It's a pH.
Okay.
So I want to
Okay.
put the alpha hydroxy acid on in the AM, and then I want to put the retinoid on in the PM. And
Okay.
ideally you should be on, like, I'd rather see you on Refine Plus every other night than Refine every night
Okay.
because of you're in your 50s now. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like I don't even mess with Refine anymore. I start with Refine Plus and work into it slowly like I used to start with Refine and work into slowly.
Okay. Okay. And I noticed, well, no, you did mention the oils as far as moisturizers because that's all I use.
Yeah, so when
That's
you start getting into the higher strength retinoids, one of the things I found is if you put your face oils on too quickly, and it may even be moisturizers, I just use oils now, but what happens is it mixes in and then you get it too close to your eye. So I recommend putting the retinoid on, letting it sit for like 30 minutes ideally, and then putting your hydrator over the top.
okay.
Because also when you hit your retinoid with a hydrator immediately after, you are changing the pH of the product. You're diluting it. Like it's not just the retinoid going on and dropping in now. You just mixed in your moisturizer with it. So now you just cut your retinoid in half kind of in a way. And then
Okay.
it's pushed in too close to your eyes, and it's not a big deal when it's a 0.5 retinol. But when you start getting into these 1% retinol, like when you start getting these higher strengths, you'll get that retinoid rash around your eye, and it's unpleasant.
Yeah, I've had it on my neck and
Yeah,
it's
you get the
brutal.
necklace lines when you sleep. So yeah, put the retinoid on, let it drop in for half an hour, regardless of the type of retinoid, whether it's prescription, over the all of them, and then hydrate. And usually what I do is I put all my serums on and then my eye product and then my hydrator. And when I'm up into these stronger retinoids, I'll put all my serums on. I'll put my eye product on. I'll then put the retinoid on. I'll wait the half hour. Sometimes I'll even do my skincare routine around 5 or 6 at night, and then I'll just put the hydrator on right before I go to bed. Like even if you let it sit for 2 or 3 hours, it's okay.
Okay.
You'll get a better one of the things they will tell you to help when you're struggling with your retinoid being too strong, one of the things the dermatologist will tell you to do is mix it with your moisturizer or put it on over your moisturizer. So see, all those things will buffer it. We want that in. So keep your moisturizer off for a bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, my only moisturizer is your oil. So yeah, that's all I use. I have the
And
light
I
for
have
the
people ask me,
AM.
do you really use do you use your own oils? And I'm like, yeah, bitch.
No, that's all I use. I have my light for the AM and my heavy for the PM.
Fantastic. So you may find as winter comes and with getting drier that you need to start using heavier in the AM, and maybe eye care all over the face in the PM.
Oh, okay.
Okay. One of the last things I wanted to say so people know, because I did tell people I was going to give the actives that you should look for in your routine, is once you hit 30 or above, you want to see retinoids, niacinamide, and you want to have a concentration of about 5% a day in niacinamide. And then depending on how congested or clogged, like oily you are, you want to be higher up. So you might want more of a 7%, a 10%, but only if like I said, the Paula's Choice has a 20%. But then again, for just daily use of healthy skin, we just want to look for 5%. You want to have vitamin C, which is the tetrahexadecylascorbate or L-ascorbic acid. When it comes to L-ascorbic acid, pH balance matters. So you want to do some research on your serum. You do want, like, if you tend to be more dry, the trehalose sodium hyaluronate. And then again, if you tend to be more congested or oily, you want to have salicylic acid for sure. Growth factors, and then growth factors, I tell people they should be 40 or above unless they start seeing jowling. The retinoids are around 30 and above, and then antioxidants is everyone. But those are the kind of the actives you want to look for in your routine if you want a full rounded skincare routine. Those are it. Okay. Do you have any more questions, Veronica?
No, I'll probably have to call and make an appointment with you to revamp what I'm using now, and then so we can do a pill also to
Yeah,
get
go
ready
ahead
for
and
that.
book a peel consult. They're 15 minutes. They're free to
Mm,
book. And
okay.
then that way we can do a one-on-one Zoom real quick. I can tweak the routine any way we might need to, and then I can get a peel kit out to you.
Okay. So
What's your
when do you,
size skin, by the way?
what's that?
Glove size. Are you a medium? Or
Medium. Yeah. And I have some if you don't. Yeah,
you
I
don't need
have plenty.
gloves?
No,
Okay.
I don't need any gloves. Thank you.
Alrighty. All right,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to turn this off, Veronica, but stay on.
Okay.
Did I just hit end or I just hit stop?